Hello and welcome back to my channel. Let's have a look at Bitcoin, and we have a new week and we have a new weekly candle. In my last video I talked about the situation here which was critical for Bitcoin, whether price would close inside the cloud here on the weekly time frame and continue lower, or if we would see a little bounce and a close above. It happened, the latter happened, yes, and we have a close outside the cloud and a little bit more bullish momentum coming in, even though right now it's quite congested, but the first signs of a bounce is here on the weekly time frame, and that's where we start here also. This time around I'm also drawing the weekly trend line. You can see here this is a crucial one actually, and in my last video I was focusing on the Ichimoku system, Ichimoku cloud, but I wanted to incorporate this trend line this time around just to show that there is additional support here actually, and it's important also for the analysis. So we're going to take that into account today. So we're actually seeing a bounce here, and we're currently going nowhere really. We're sort of sitting here with a little small bodied candle, but the week is young, so of course it will develop from here. So there aren't actually much more to say here on the weekly. There isn't much more to say here on the weekly time frame. It's things haven't changed that much, and we have a little. It's a TK cross, it's called. You can see here the red line is crossing the white line, but that tends to happen when price is actually at the bottom here in a bull trend. So because price is trading above the cloud, we're in a bull trend. When the TK cross happens, usually it marks sort of the bottom, and then we will have the opposite once it goes above. It's sort of reversed actually. So it's more of a buying signal actually than a selling signal in this scenario we're in. So this could also indicate that we're sort of reaching the bottom here. Let's have a look at the the daily time frame, and I think that's a little bit more interesting. Last week I spoke about the likelihood of a bounce here due to several indicators and the general situation of price. Firstly, my point was that price is very oversold, which can be seen in a bullish divergence. And we also have this upward sloping trend line here, SMA 200, and price is very far from it, and needs to be sort of balanced up by bouncing up here to level this stretch out. What happens since the last video, I would say, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe it happened the same day here. It was the 10th of January. Yeah, it's a week ago. We had this nice pin bar here on the daily time frame with the monthly S1, which is sort of the lower end of a range for price to move in a normal sort of trend. So we see this nice pin bar, and looks very much like a hammer, I would say, and it has actually bounced from this hammer, so it was validated here as a candlestick pattern right there with this close here. And yeah, we also have a MACD cross here, which we didn't have last week. I was expecting it because of the stretched out oversold price levels here, so now that one is in place, and yeah, the bullish divergence is panning out here as expected. Even though price action is slow at this point, it may actually accelerate quite quickly, quite fast here in time. We can see price came down tested the weekly pivot point also. So we even have that one cleared. Now one has to raise the flag here because it is very heavy price action. I mean, it's really stretched out in the bearish territory. We see the cloud coming down here. It's thick and it's coming down. So if price actually break below this trend line and come down here and close below these bodies here, we might see further downward action, and it could be quite dramatic because of this weekly trend line. Things could get pretty ugly, I would say. So one needs to be a little bit careful here if one is going to step in. But still, I mean, from a technical perspective, just looking at the general situation here, zooming out a little bit, we have the trend line, we have this pin bar hammer here, we have the upward sloping trend line here on SMA 200. Well, normally I would say doesn't get more pretty than that for an entry here. No financial advice, you have to do your own research, but for me it looks pretty nice if we can sort of establish this level here and close above this new high here we have at 44,000 sharp, I would say. So this green line here is the 618 of the current drop. Sorry, let's see where I have this one. Yeah, it's the wider drop we have here from this level down here. But yeah, so this is an important fib level here, the green one. This one here, the green one, yeah, and it could also act a little bit on price as a resistance here. But if we break it close above, well, we're cleared for, I would say, yeah, we have this support and resistance level here, the white line. It is important, of course. I've drawn it over here, here it comes all the way, support here. So it's important, but the close above, and also I would say a Kijun break, I mean a close above this white equilibrium line here, the white line, Kijun Sen, would open up for a move up towards the monthly pivot point, which stands at, let's see, 49,630 about. But that would be also a test of the cloud. Yeah, we're quite oversold. Just look at this. This is kind of extraordinary, I would say, this type of oversold. But we have the bullish divergence, we have the trend line bounce, we have this situation. So everything is set for a bounce here, and if it doesn't, it's actually beating the odds, I would say 75% at least, I mean, for a bounce, 25% for a drop or less even. It's hard to pinpoint the direct percentage, but it's a good bet from these levels. So one could go down here and have a look at this, how price acts here on the weekly pivot point. If we get a close below or sort of taking out of this low today, we come back here, you know, it's time to hold the horses a little bit, but I mean, generally if we see a green candle close today, I think we're up for a rather sharp move up, I would say, yeah. So that is interesting. Now, what is the situation on the weekly chart? If we looked at the daily chart here, how will the weekly chart play out? How do we want to close for bullish scenario, etc.? So we have this upper cloud here. We do not, for bulls, do not want to close inside the cloud again from here. They want a confirmative close above the cloud to be a little bit more certain about the situation. So the big money is waiting on the, looking at the weekly chart, I would say, timing it on daily chart. The daily chart is already ripe for a trade, I would say. But the weekly chart, we need a confirmation. So we might not see anything rather dramatic this week. It would be more logical if it comes next week. If we hold above the trend line, we hold above the cloud, preferably closing above this the last week's close, which was let's see here, what did we have? 43,013. That was the close last week. So that's the level to close above. That would be good. So we're waiting for that. If we get a close inside the cloud here, might even a close below 40,475. That would be sort of worrying, very worrying, and then we will go down and test this 37k level here. An important level, of course, of support, and which will probably likely hold. People will step in like crazy here, I would say, considering the bullish divergence and everything on the daily time frame. I say that would be people trying to bet on a low here. Yeah, but if we look at the fine details here, actually this low here on the 10th of January is slightly lower than we had here on the 20th September 2021. So we have actually created a new low here in the fine details, but it's of course minute, and yeah, might not have that much of importance since we have this trend line here also, which is currently being tested. Yeah, I think that's it for this week, and I'll get back next week, and hopefully I can have you all coming along and have a look at my analysis. I hope it's interesting and can give you some insights on how to act and where we might be going. But I would say last week's close was good for bulls. Yeah, that's fair enough to say. It was good, and now we'll just see how this week pans out, and whether we will have a close above the cloud, above the trend line, or below. Let's see. Thanks for watching.